It's Hillary from the Red Brick Center for the Arts in Aspen, Colorado. This week I'm going to show you how to make a really fun sculpture of a figure. Sometimes sculpture is hard at home because you might not have clay or other things you'd have in an art classroom. But with this one, I think you'll be able to make it just with some simple supplies that you have at your house. Here's the things you're going to need. You're going to need a little bit of aluminum foil. You're also going to need some Elmer's glue. You're going to need some measuring spoons. And you're going to need a regular spoon to mix with. You're going to need something to mix in, like a bowl. And you're going to need to start with 2 paper towels. So that's the beginning of the project. This is a 2-day project because after we get the figure made, it's going to need to dry for 1 day before you can come back and use a paintbrush and some watercolor paints to paint it in. It's going to be really fun. So let's get started and I'll show you all the steps. Okay, so the first step is to get 3 pieces of aluminum foil, or tin foil, some people call it that. And you don't have to measure it with a ruler, but just to give you an idea, you're going to need 1 piece that's larger. Mine is about 12 inches by 12 inches, so I have a square of aluminum foil. And then I also have 2 pieces that are a little bit narrower. So that one is 8 inches across, and this one's about the same. So these we're going to set aside. We're going to start with the larger piece. The larger piece is going to be carefully formed into the head and the body of your figure. So what you want to do is start at the top and kind of from both sides sort of roll it in like this towards the middle. So I've kind of started it, it's a little bit looking like a house. And from this part, I'm going to turn mine so I can get to it better. I'm going to roll the top down, and I'm going to keep rolling the sides in a little bit. And the top, I'm going to roll down. And what I'm trying to do right now is make a ball at the top. So the head in this project is attached to the body. We're not going to glue it separate. That would be really hard and it would sort of fall apart. So I'm getting it better. It's rolling it down and I'm pushing it, and now I'm pretty happy with that. That's going to be the ball for my head. So you're going to want your project to be the shape that you want it later, because we won't be able to change that later. So with the rest of this aluminum foil, I'm going to sort of push it flat and push it around. And I want to make a body that's kind of in proportion for my head. So what that means is that the head is not too big or the head is not too small for how big I make the rest of the body. And the body is kind of like a little bit of an oval shape. So if you find that you are not happy with how this turned out, like your body's too flat and you want it a little bit bigger, what you can do is take another piece. So we could use this piece if we wanted, and we can just push it right around on that body. I thought my body was a little flat. I don't want to make mine too fat, but I also don't want a sculpture that's flat, because sculptures are not flat. So there is my body. I think I'm pretty happy with that, and there's my head. So the next part is going to be working on the arms and the legs. So I had to get 1 more piece of aluminum foil since I used my other one. So I have 2 smaller pieces, and we are going to do the same thing to both of these. We're going to start at the edge and just fold it in, and you're going to try to roll it up as the best you can. And the more you can roll it so that it starts to become something that is more round, like a pencil, the better. But if you push on it on all these surfaces, it'll stay flat. So I have one of them rolled up. I'm going to use one of those for my arms, and I'm going to do another one. So we start at the edge and we start to roll it up. And you want to roll it pretty tightly, and don't push it too flat or it won't stay round. So roll, roll, roll until you get it all the way to the end. And then the next part here is how we're going to attach these. We're not going to need any tape. We're just going to use this roll of aluminum foil, and we're going to start on the back of the figure. So it's like this, and we're going to go across like that. Then we're going to take the other one and go across the other way, and then push down. And then you can kind of sculpt these, and you can decide if your arms are going to point up or if your arms are going to go down, or however you want your arms to be. You will form them with your foil. So those arms are stuck on there. They would slide off if I pulled on them, but for right now, they're great how they're on there. And if you find that they're a little bit too long, you can turn it up to shorten it. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing for the legs. I'm going to push my body in a little bit because it's a little wide. And I'm going to start with my roll, and I'm going to put it on the back of my project, right behind the arms kind of. And I am going to go around like that. And then I'm going to take the other leg and go around. And so right now my legs are sticking out, and I want them to come down. So I'm just going to twist this a little bit and push it down, trying to keep my leg as round as I can. And I'm going to twist that a little bit and push it down, trying to keep it kind of round. And then if you want yours to have feet or sort of like shoes, you can turn it up a little bit. So at this point, you'd want to sort of decide also how you want your legs to go. So I have my arms and my legs on my figure, and the next part is going to be doing a little bit of mixing of materials so we can make paper mache. Okay, so I'm going to prepare my paper towel, and what I need to do is either tear it into pieces that are about the size of an Oreo cookie, or I need to use scissors. So tearing is fine. You're going to just take it apart like this and tear it into pieces. And I'm going to do this with both of my paper towels so that they're ready to go. This is really hard to do later once you start using the paper mache, because your hands will be way too sticky. So it's all torn up, and I'm going to set that aside. The next part I need to do is mix my paper mache. So you can use Elmer's glue. You could also do this with flour and water, but I'm going to choose to use Elmer's glue. So what I'm going to do is measure out 1 tablespoon of glue. So I have it in there like that. And if you get a little bit too much, that's okay. And you're going to push it, let it go into your bowl. Get all of it off. And then we are going to add some water to this. And then we're going to stir. So you'll notice again that I have this mat underneath me so that I'm not getting glue all over the table. So I can just set that down. And the water, I'm going to start with just a little bit. I'm going to start with a teaspoon and put it in. And I think I'll do 2 teaspoons. And then I'm going to stir. So it's always better to start with a little bit of water because you can always add more. So when I look at my material right now, it comes off, it's pretty liquidy. It looks very much like milk, but I do think it's a little bit too thick. So I'm gonna put 1 more teaspoon of water in my mixture and stir it up. And it should be ready to use. One more material you might want is a washcloth so that you can wipe your hands off if they get too sticky while we're doing the next step. Okay, so we're ready to paper mache. This is gonna get a little bit sticky, so I have this washcloth here to wipe my hands off. So I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna dip it into my mixture and let some extra come off, and I'm gonna put it onto the foil. Now, it's not going to stay and stick. You'll notice right then that it just slipped right off. So it's only gonna be good after it dries. So I wanna shake off all that extra, and I also wanna make sure that I rub all that paper towel down all the way. So I'm trying to cover all the silver with my paper towel. So right now, I've got the head finished. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna dip it a little bit and just lay it on, and then do another one, lay it on. And when I get to going around the legs, I might have to wrap it. And it's okay if you rub a little with your finger, go all the way around, push it against that foil. We're gonna use all of this paper towel. So it might feel like a lot right now, but it's better to have more than one layer. So I'm going around my arm, and I'm gonna go around the other arm and the other leg, just like that, and push it down. It's really important that you push it against the foil, because later it will dry exactly how you left it. So if you don't push it against the foil, it won't end up looking like your figure. So right now I have part of the body and one arm done, and I'm gonna need to do the back and those legs. So when I get finished, I'll show you what's next. Okay, I used up all the paper towel. I actually used up almost all of my paper mache material. If you do run out, you can make another small batch. And I would say I definitely have 2 layers of the white paper towel wrapped around and pushed onto the tin foil all over my figure. So the next part is to decide how you want your figure to dry. So if you want your figure to be sitting, you could take it and push the legs so that it's sitting, like so. I think I'll have mine sitting. If you want your figure to be standing, that's a little harder, but I would suggest just leaving it on its back. You can also move the arms however you want. I like mine. Mine's sitting with his arms in the air. It looks excited. So I'm gonna leave mine to dry just like that. If you notice anywhere on your project where the paper towel isn't pushed down or it looks a little too bumpy, try to smooth that, because it's gonna stay drying and looking bumpy like that later. And now is the time to step away from your artwork and leave it alone until tomorrow, or whenever you have time the next time, and I will show you what's next after it's dry. Hi, welcome back. So my guy took about 1 day to dry, and I actually set him outside in the sun. And now it's time to decide if it's a lady or a man, and I recommend that you paint it with watercolor paints. So this one here was painted only with watercolor paint, and the way I got the colors to be so nice and bright was that I did not use very much water. Now, if you only have a larger brush, like I do, there are some things you can do. Instead of painting with the whole brush, like this, like you normally would do, if you want to get details, you can use just the very edge of your brush. So you can turn it right on its side like that, and that'll help you make a cool stripe. So one of the things that you want to do probably is decide that you might want to give your figure a shirt. So if you're going to give your figure a shirt, something that you'd want to decide is if it's short sleeve or long sleeve. I think I'll mark where the short sleeve is going to be, right there on the arm and on that side. And then you'd want to give it a neck line. So like that, there is kind of the start of my shirt. And then I'd want to decide where the waist is. So it's kind of like that. So once I have these lines on my project, what I want to do is turn my sculpture to the other side so I can continue all the way around. So I get the line on the back of where the shirt ends, and the neckline can come up around the neck just like that. And then the other sleeve can wrap around the arm, so you get it to be the same all the way around. And then once you get it like that, you can paint it any way you want. You could paint it solid color, you could give it stripes like I did on this figure. That's totally up to you. So once you get your shirt done, I would recommend that you do either some leggings or some pants. You could paint those in on your project. And I'm gonna also maybe paint some hair. It's up to you. If you want to paint a face, you can. Sometimes when I paint a face, it gets a little bit messy looking, and then I'm not happy with how it turned out. So sometimes I just leave my face without one, and that way you can imagine what the expressions are on your figure whenever. Okay, sorry about that. I was talking about the face, and I decided to leave mine blank so it can have an expression that you imagine. That's kind of a fun way to do it, but you're welcome to put one on if you want. I finished painting mine. I gave mine a shirt and some leggings and some hair, and I even put on like a hair barrette. It's like a flower in its hair as a painting. Now, there's one more thing you could do if you wanted. If you have the supplies, maybe you have some fabric or possibly an old sock that you're allowed to use and cut up. You could put it on your project and give it maybe like a skirt. So I have this piece of fabric, and I also have this one here that I might use as a tie. So what I could do is kind of wrap it around to the back, and it's a little bit long, but what I could do first is kind of get it how I want it before I decide to cut it. And then I could take this one here and wrap it from the back to the front and just tie it. And that'll keep it on there. I don't have hot glue, so I don't really have a way to attach it with hot glue, but I could attach it just like that with this little extra piece. And then I could take some scissors and I could cut off the extra. I could cut those a little bit shorter, my ties. And just like that, your figure has some actual clothing, which is pretty fun. So that's something you could try if you have the supplies. Make sure you ask first before you start just cutting up anything that you think that you could use. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and make sure that you check out the information on how to email a photo back to the Red Brick so we can see what you made. I hope you had fun making your figures this week, and make sure that you check out the information to send a photo to the Red Brick so we can see how your sculptures turned out. Have fun creating, and I can't wait to see you next time.